What if the biggest threat to your health wasn't some invisible virus or a genetic curse, but the food you casually toss into your shopping cart every week? No dramatic music, no special effects, just your fridge, your pantry, your daily habits. What if the real danger wasn't what you're eating, but what you've been told is safe to eat? That comforting box of cereal, that bag of chips you reach for after a stressful day, even the yogurt that claims to be low-fat and healthy. What if they're all part of a slow-motion health disaster? This isn't paranoia. It's not fear-mongering. It's a wake-up call. Today, we're going to walk through 10 seemingly normal foods that are doing far more harm than good, and that doctors have been warning us about for years. You won't find obscure or exotic dangers here. These are everyday supermarket staples that millions eat without a second thought. But once you know what's really inside them, you may never look at your plate the same way again. Let's begin with one of the most seductive little packages in the grocery store, processed deli meats. They're clean, uniform, convenient. Turkey slices, ham, pepperoni, even that irresistible bacon. But behind that glossy sheen is a lineup of chemical villains: nitrates, nitrites, sodium, and artificial preservatives. These additives aren't just about shelf life. They've been linked to increased risks of heart disease, colon cancer, and even strokes. Doctors around the world now rank processed meats alongside tobacco and asbestos as cancer-causing agents. Read that again. Tobacco, asbestos, bacon. Still hungry? But it gets sneakier. Remember when margarine was the healthy alternative to butter? Yeah, that was a marketing miracle. In truth, many margarines were, and some still are, loaded with trans fats, the kind of fat that doesn't just raise your bad cholesterol, but lowers your good cholesterol. This creates the perfect storm for clogged arteries, heart attacks, and chronic inflammation. And even though trans fats have been banned in many places, loopholes in labeling laws still allow small, harmful amounts. So when you see zero trans fats, don't relax just yet. Then there's your breakfast. Or should we say, dessert disguised as breakfast. Sugary cereals, especially the colorful, kid-friendly kinds, can contain up to 40% sugar by weight. That means your innocent bowl of cereal might be hitting your bloodstream harder than a candy bar. The result? A sugar spike, a crash, mood swings, and hunger again by 10 a.m. Worse, your brain gets used to this reward loop, craving sugar first thing every morning. And once that habit forms in childhood, it's hard to break in adulthood. And speaking of sweet, let's have a word about the so-called smart choice, diet soda. 0 calories, 0 sugar. What could possibly be bad? Plenty. Artificial sweeteners like aspartame, sucralose, and saccharin confuse your metabolism. Your body tastes sweetness, but gets no energy, throwing off hunger hormones and increasing your cravings for real sugar later. Some studies even suggest links between diet soda and insulin resistance, metabolic disorders, and gut microbiome imbalance. Translation: the diet in diet soda might be costing you your health. Now picture this. You're tired. You don't feel like cooking. You pop a frozen TV dinner in the microwave. Ding, instant meal. But that neatly packaged meal is often a sodium bomb, sometimes containing your entire daily limit in just one tray. Add in artificial flavors, preservatives, hydrogenated oils, and mystery meat, and you're not just skipping a home-cooked meal, you're replacing it with a lab experiment. Sure, there are healthier frozen options now, but many still live in the 1980s when sodium was a flavor, not a warning sign. Let's add a crunch to this list. Potato chips. You know the feeling. You open a bag and promise just a few, but suddenly, your fingers are scraping the bottom. That's not your lack of willpower. That's food engineering. The perfect combo of salt, fat, and crunch stimulates your brain's pleasure center like a slot machine, keeping you hooked. And chips cooked at high temperatures. They often contain acrylamide, a chemical linked to cancer in lab studies. You might not feel it today, but your cells might be screaming tomorrow. And then comes the curveball, canned tomatoes. Tomatoes themselves. Amazing, full of lycopene, antioxidants, and flavor. But when stored in cans lined with BPA, a chemical used in food packaging, The acidity of the tomatoes causes BPA to leach into the food. BPA messes with your hormones. It mimics estrogen, potentially affecting fertility, increasing cancer risk, and interfering with metabolism. Unless your can clearly says BPA-free, that tomato sauce might come with a side of endocrine disruption. Let's jump to movie night. Microwavable popcorn. Seems harmless, right? But those bags are often lined with perfluorinated chemicals to prevent grease leakage. When heated, these chemicals break down into compounds like PFOA, linked to thyroid problems, hormone disruption, and even certain cancers. And that fake butter flavor? It's often made from diacetyl, a chemical linked to respiratory disease in factory workers. So yeah, popcorn shouldn't come with a lung warning. And here comes the heartbreak. White bread. That fluffy, soft, nostalgic loaf from childhood. But nutritionally, it's basically sugar in disguise. Made from refined white flour, it digests almost instantly, spiking your blood sugar and crashing it just as fast. It lacks fiber, vitamins, and real substance. The more you eat it, the more your body craves that easy sugar hit. And the more insulin your body pumps out, the closer you get to insulin resistance and type 2 diabetes. Finally, let's talk about the wolf in sheep's clothing, flavored yogurt. Low fat, they say. With fruit, they add. But often, the fruit is a sticky syrup packed with added sugars, artificial colors, and thickeners. Some of these yogurts contain more sugar than an ice cream cone. You think you're doing your gut a favor, but you might be feeding it dessert in disguise. And if it's labeled low fat, guess what they replace the fat with? Yep, more sugar or starch, a sweet trap in a pretty package. Now pause. Think about your kitchen, your last grocery run, your daily habits. How many of these 10 foods have made it into your life? How many are still there because no one ever told you the full story? The scariest part isn't just the health risks, it's the trust we put in packaging, marketing, and tradition. We assume that because it's on a store shelf, it's been vetted. We assume that because it's normal, it must be safe. But normal doesn't mean healthy. And common doesn't mean harmless. This isn't about living in fear. It's about making choices with your eyes open. You don't have to throw out your whole pantry tonight. But maybe you swap one product, read one more label, question one more slogan. Health doesn't come from a miracle food. It comes from learning what not to eat. And it starts with awareness. So here's your challenge. In the comments, tell us. Which of these 10 foods are you quitting starting today? Be real. Be bold. And if this video gave you even one aha moment, share it with someone you care about. Because sometimes saving a life starts with a bag of popcorn or a slice of bread. Stay sharp, eat smart, and remember, the most powerful changes begin in the smallest decisions.